Okay, do you see us recording?
Oh yes, I do see that.
Okay, good. Welcome to the February 26th episode of Between Two Teachers. I am Madeline Cronenberg.
And I am Consuelo Lara.
And we are here on the sacred land of the Chochenyo Kharkin Ohlone people. And we're going to do our weekly land acknowledgement, where we pause to acknowledge that we have gathered on the ancestral lands of the Ohlone, Muwekma Ohlone, and Chochenyo Kharkin Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present.
Yes.
And we do. We can use everybody's help. Okay, this week in education, the big national news everywhere is about school districts and school districts returning to in-person instruction. And honestly, it's not about reopening schools, because that's the misnomer. Schools have not closed. Schools have been open. Children and teachers and all of our staff have worked harder than they've ever worked for the past year. So they've been open, but not for in-person instruction. And that's where the pandemic, what the pandemic has stopped. So this is a chart, a map of the United States showing where there has been in-person instruction and where there's been mostly virtual instruction. And California, you can see, is mostly virtual, whereas states like Florida and Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas have been mostly in person or more in person. And there are many reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is that the staff, the educational professionals in many of those states are not represented by labor unions. So they don't have a voice in the decisions that are being made about whether or not they have to return to school. And when there is a decision, then the folks who are most impacted do have a voice. So San Francisco is a place where there's tremendous controversy now about reopening, where the case rate is going down and the schools have not reopened yet. And there are a lot of tensions. This is an article from EdSource on rising tensions. And as you will see, this one there was a conversation with the budget chair, Mr. Ting, Phil Ting, who is from San Francisco, who is desperately trying to find ways to reopen the schools. But the thing about the schools being reopened is that we don't talk about enough. All right, so this is really interesting. Put this up. Piece of research. Look at this.
Yeah.
This is a Pew Research Center. Views of whether schools should wait to reopen until teachers are vaccinated, as of February 24th this week. Look at who thinks they should wait. Most people, 59%, believe they should wait, whereas 40% believe they should open even if teachers are not vaccinated. Of white families that were asked, it's 50-50, 48-51. But in the Black community, Hispanic families, Asian families, and lower income families, they are much more concerned about the safety of opening without a vaccination. Look at those numbers.
Big difference. Yeah, big difference.
Right? So this is an argument that the higher income white families are pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted that on my Facebook also. That's a good one. That's a good,
It is. I mean, because it really, it captures where we are.
tells you exactly how people feel about this. Yeah.
Right. And this is another one. Right. And this is all things considered, K-12 schools in the areas where they live should provide the following type of instruction in the fall. This even tells you what people think should happen in the fall and who thinks it should be online 5 days a week, a mix of in-person and online, or all in person. And you can see who believes it should be all in person 5 days a week. And in order for it to be all in person 5 days a week, you would have to be able, basically the virus has to be completely behind us, right? Because the only way to do that and go back to where we were before is if we have no such thing as social distancing.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That is the only way to do it.
Large classrooms, all of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Would not be good.
This is the bill. There was a bill that was passed, or a bill that it was not passed, Mr. Ching's bill. It's identical in both the Assembly and the State Senate. It's AB and SB 86. And it was drafted last week on at the end of the week, and literally over the weekend, all of these organizations, and these organizations are counties, the CSBA, the California School Board Association, which met, I guess, certainly not every school board was contacted. So they had some executive committee that must have voted, right?
Yeah.
But then there are all these different counties that are listed as representing, as making a case against this bill. There are no teachers or educators organizations in here.
Nope.
Administrators, yes, but teachers, no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that every Office of Education had a meeting.
No,
where
with the board, their
No.
board. I seriously doubt. We didn't.
No. So I don't think any of them did, because this thing happened between Friday and Monday. It happened over the weekend, last weekend.
Wow.
So these are all people who were contacted. And I heard somebody talking about how they were putting the letter together. And what he did was basically have a call with all the superintendents. And that's fine. The thing is, to me, I think that this is a little misleading, because it looks like it's the county boards.
Yeah. And it's not. It's the superintendents.
It's the superintendents. And that's just a different group. So it's a small detail, but nonetheless, it's not as clear as I think it should be.
Yeah. Huh.
And the bill has not moved forward. It's still, because they need to have everybody agree, and so you can't leave the teachers out.
That's
and this is the thing about the teachers. Now, I just think we can't overlook this.
Yep.
There it is. California teachers are predominantly women by far. I don't even have the gender in here, but we all know that. And the percentages are, so look at the numbers. You've got 364,000 teachers in California, public school teachers. And out of that group, you've only got, you have 54% of them under 46, which means that you have, 45% over 46. So 45% are over 46. And these are, and including over, 64,000 of them are over 55.
Yep.
It's not surprising that they are concerned.
That's right. That's right. That's
right. It's not surprising that since there is a vaccination available, before they go into a setting where they are going to be with a group of folks all day long, that they want to be protected.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's not only, I mean, you could die from this. And also, even if you get it, and let's say you survive it, and the damage you can be, especially with these older individuals, it can damage you, your
Yes.
insides, and you have this disability for the rest of your life. So it's just not safe, especially for most of our teachers. I'd say a third of our teachers.
And there it is. I mean, the numbers are right there. Just if you just look at that, to me, that was the thing that nobody is talking about. They're just saying, oh, these teachers are lazy, all of this other stuff. These teachers have had to work twice as hard because they've had to figure out how to teach online. They've had to, the teachers that were in hybrid are expected to teach not only the children on the Zoom call, but also the children in the room with them. And there is no way that that is going to be a successful model. And that's the model, the hybrid model that many are looking at for the fall, and that many are operating under right now. And I think we're not being fair to anybody when we talk about what we're really expecting from folks, and we're not recognizing who we're talking about doing it.
Just ignoring that. Yeah, that's not fair. It's not right.
No. So here are the two districts, two largest ones that are coming back. And one of the first one is Long Beach. Long Beach is coming back because Long Beach has its own health department. So they have vaccinated their teachers, or will have by the time that their teachers come back. And I believe they're coming back on March 29th.
Okay.
The next group is San Diego, which is also vaccinating their teachers. They believe that they will have the beginning of their reopening will be able to work for them on April 12th.
Okay.
Berkeley is also coming back, and Berkeley has passed. One thing about Berkeley has passed. They're well on the way to doing an affordable housing for teachers, building affordable housing for teachers in the parking lot of their Berkeley Adult School. So they're using that property, district property, the parking lot property, just like Mountain View did the same thing with a parking lot.
Yep.
And they're gonna build housing for workforce housing for the district.
Yep.
Then we have the school board recalls. There are folks trying to recall the San Francisco board because, and it's strictly based, this is who they're recalling first. And it's based on who's available to recall. You can't recall somebody who just got elected. And it's based on the reopening of schools, the reopening of in-person schools. San Ramon Valley had a reopening, a recall the board effort underway, but they have reopened in hybrid, and it may well be because of this effort, right? That the board members were inspired to reopen, but they have managed to do it. And then there's West Contra Costa, which we are intimately familiar with, and they are in the process of figuring it out. They're looking for, today there's going to be, as we are doing this right now, it's just an hour away from the event somebody is holding at the corner of Cutting and San Pablo about reopening schools.
And who is organizing this? What does it say at the bottom there?
WCC safeopenschools.com. That's the organization that has been put together.
I wonder if they're related to the West County Kids Can group.
It may well be. They may well be.
I'm curious.
But I don't know that for sure.
We don't know. We don't know.
I don't know for sure. This is right now, the West Contra Costa dashboard about having things done that allow them to go back to in-person. And if you notice, there are very few green dots on there.
Nope.
It's a lot of the contact tracers are not there. The index of cases, the positivity rate, the percent of new cases, the contact tracing is non-existent. The instructional time they're working on figuring out instructional time. They're in progress on cleaning and disinfecting and figuring out how to do it. But it's all a huge project. And it requires understanding that our schools are organized around a certain class size. That class size does not allow us to have social distancing. It's impossible, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the big thing. So we had this opportunity this week with a public hearing where the folks from St. Joseph School, a Catholic school in Pinole, where they also use this Go Guardian, the folks from Salesian Catholic School in Richmond, the San Pablo High School, and the folks from a single school district in Marin County all came to speak and explain how they reopened. And the way they reopened was that they had more resources to reopen. They were able to have classes of small cohorts so that teachers, instead of having 25 or 30 children, all were 13 or maybe 14 children. That's a completely different model from the model that West Contra Costa and other urban districts use. And that's the key problem.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right. So if you're going to say that in order to do social distancing, you have to have half the number of children in your room, then that means is you have to have twice the number of teachers.
Yeah, exactly. We have that. We don't even have that.
Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying we're going to give you the money for twice the number of teachers.
Exactly. Nope.
Right. So instead, what they are saying is that the teachers have to work twice as hard, because what we want your teachers to do is to teach the children in front of you and teach the children who are online at the same time.
So you got two jobs.
And that way, no one is served.
No, not at all.
Right. And then they're going to be compared to these school districts that had twice the money and twice the staff.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what's actually happening. And that's why it is really very unfair. And when I listen to all of the communications that are coming out, nobody is really making that very clear case. This is not about teachers being unreasonable. This is about nobody really understanding what they're actually asking folks to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And thinking that one size fits all, that we're all the same, and we are not. We absolutely are not.
No, and we're not resourced the same. And that's the biggest difference. When the gentleman came from Marin, he said, well, we're a basic aid district. Nobody knew what that meant. That's like a code that went over everybody's head. What it means is they have much more money, the money to be able to have a class size of 13 instead of a class size of 30. That's what it meant.
That's it. That's it.
That's what it meant. It's not like we wish, we would much rather have 30 children rather than 13. No, that's not true. Right? The California Teachers Association has been fighting for smaller class sizes forever. Since Prop 13.
Oh yeah. Since was a teacher.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. That entire time. It's not like they haven't been fighting for it. And this is the proof of why they need it. Right. Also, the nurses that need to be hired, the counselors that need to be hired. You have to have the resources to hire these professionals to be able to provide this service. And if you don't have those resources, you're not going to have the results that you think you're going to have.
Oh my goodness. It would be awful. Just awful. Because I think of the social emotional issues. We don't have the social emotional support systems set in for our schools, for our students.
Exactly. And that's what, so the next thing I have here is this: if somebody wants to, they can go to the resource page and they can go on the back of the card and then click on a link, and they'll see this, exactly that, a conversation with Patty Crespo, who is the principal at El Cerrito High, where she speaks about what's happened at El Cerrito with her lower income students, particularly her Latino students who don't have resources, right? Who have jobs many times, right? And their social emotional reactions and the implications for them. Also, I included in here something from Oakley, a place we're about to talk about. The night of infamy in Oakley, they had a return to in-person program, a discussion that they had that night that has like gone off into nowhere land because they've had so many changes because of what happened that night. But they have a program. So if somebody's interested in what's really important to the community of Oakley, this is their reopening plan. I'm going to go past these. These are the Arts Alliance folks are still working really hard. The parents are working. These are two groups of parents in San Francisco that are working hard to try to get petitions, working on petitions to try to reopen their schools, which are not changing very much. And then there's just some things about funding. But what I wanted to get down to, I'll even go past these, is to what is happening in Oakland. In Oakland this week, they had their reparations, Black reparations.
Oh, yes, yes.
They put it over. They had a 9-hour meeting. Hundreds of people were in attendance, and the update on that was there was an amendment that was considered, and it still hasn't been voted on. So that has been put over to their next meeting.
Wow, wow.
So
but they're having that discussion. The discussion
they're started, but it remains to be seen what actually is going to happen with that.
Yeah.
But then we get to the biggest news in the country.
In the country, yeah.
This week in the country is Oakley Union Elementary School District. So you can tell us a little about that, Ms. Laura.
Yes, I can. It's a little tiny school district in East Contra Costa County. The big picture of this, the context is, of course, the pressure of the pandemic has put on our school system, and board members and teachers and everyone. And unfortunately, sometimes your worst comes out under very difficult situations and trauma. And the worst certainly came out on these board members. And there was a hot mic situation where they didn't realize they were being recorded.
Right. What I have right here is the picture, right? This is a picture of Miss Bede, Kim Bede, and she asked, if you hear yourself ask the question, are we alone? That's a big problem. That's a tip off.
No, right there.
Right?
Yeah. And you can see it. You can see it on YouTube. Yeah,
you can see it on YouTube. It's been watched this particular one, when I took it down, had already been seen 700,000 times.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so it's nationwide for sure, maybe even worldwide, as far as we know. But they said some extremely unflattering and inappropriate,
very unkind things.
Cruel,
cruel about parents.
About parents, and so the community wanted them to I'll be fired, or and what they did on a Friday is they just all resigned kind of on their own. And so oftentimes, I'm on the county board of education, and I often get the question, well, what do you guys do anyway? It's not a district. Well, lo and behold, here's one of the things we do. When a district has a situation like that, the county board of education needs to step up. And in this case, the board president of the county then can appoint some interim board members from the county board onto the district board to appoint or to, take care of the business of the district in the meantime. So I am one of those individuals. There's 3 of us.
All 3 of you are on 2 boards. You're on the county board and on the Oakley board.
Correct. And so, so far,
Which
we've
is
only had-
usually illegal, right? Usually impossible. And it's only under this rare circumstance of an entire county board resigning that it would happen.
Correct, correct. It's in the ed code for sure. It's in the ed code. And yeah, I think I heard only once before this ever happened, someplace down in Southern California where there was a bunch of fraud went on.
Yeah.
And I think only once before. So it's a very rare occasion. But again, I got to go back to it's the pressure we're all under. So it might not be the last, who knows? Between recalls and resigning, and because we're so under so much pressure. But going forward, what's going to happen, we're going to continue to meet. Our next meeting is March the 3rd at 5 o'clock. And one of the things I'm observing in Oakley is the lack of transparency that they've had so far. So that's a big one right there. And hopefully, we will do something to make sure everybody's aware of the meetings and the process going forward.
Right.
But
and it would be, I think I'll just make this suggestion as a citizen of California and of the county. I think the meetings should be recorded and available, publicly available, like other school board meetings are. Right? Yeah, your board meetings, the county board meetings are publicly recorded and available. It's not, as I can see, a legal requirement, but it certainly is a best practice. And especially for a district such as Oakley, which is right now under the national microscope.
Exactly. So everybody's watching now. So transparency is so important at this time. And it looks like pretty much, a special election would be very expensive, which no one can afford, and that it would probably go towards appointments. And that process will also be revealed as we move forward, March 3rd. So this last meeting, all we did appoint a board president from the three of us, and that is Mike Maxwell, and the clerk, who is Annette Lewis. So that's how far we got. We talked about other issues going forward, and but it's just a cautionary tale for people. Just have to just act as if you're always being watched when you are, especially elected and as an elected official. So I'm, it's so important for us to be role models. That's all I could say. And that kind of reminds me of, talk about being good role models as board members of things that are happening in West Contra Costa Unified School District. I saw a district that I felt was very divided, let's say, on the issue of opening schools, and that's unfortunate. I mean, a school board needs to come together and be a team and be respectful and show good leadership qualities for sure. So that's the continuing story anyway. So getting back to Oakley, like I said, we will have this next meeting on March the 5th, or did I say the 3rd? March the 3rd, it's a Wednesday, at 5 o'clock. So that's the next one that's coming up.
But that has to do with accepting the applications for that particular school board had someone resign in January. This changeover happened literally last week here in February, right? But there had been a member who resigned in January that they were in the process of making an appointment to replace the resigned member.
Correct.
Right?
That one was in process already.
And so that's what you're doing is concluding the process to appoint a 4th member to the board. So now you're going to have a board of 4 people.
Yeah, and that could be problematic. So we'll see how we're going to deal with that issue. Absolutely.
It's not the most popular number for a board.
Yeah. So a lot of things are happening right now.
Right.
In that.
So there's, we're hoping Oakley is going to, everyone's going to come together as a team in Oakley and work to resume in person with their teacher organizations and their parents. Right?
Yes. And hopefully, I think, like I said, it won't be a special election, but rather appointments of individuals who will be very vetted, I'm sure. So we need some people to step up who may have run before in the past or have considered it and are concerned about public education to, put your hat in the ring.
Right. So right now you need somebody from area 2 to step up by Tuesday. Is what you need. So if you live in Oakley area 2, you need to go to the website and take a look at the application process.
It's there. Yeah, it's all there. So
that's the ongoing saga of one of your 2 jobs, one of your 3 jobs. You have this is your other job, but you have 2 positions. I mean, that's a unique thing to put on your resume, Ms. Laura. You have concurrent place on both school boards.
Yes, that's a very unusual thing, isn't it?
Very, very unusual. Very, very unusual. San Francisco made a decision. I will say this was an interesting piece of news, an update. That's what we're in our little update section here. And the update is that they're putting on hold the conversation around renaming 44 schools.
Oh, yes.
Because that's a big conversation. And honestly, they had come to the conclusion without really maybe the amount of time and effort they needed just to understand the history of things and run it past a larger group in the community. That's not just renaming one school. That's such a major kind of change that they've now understood that the community wants them to be more, there's no rush to have to rename 44 schools. There shouldn't be.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And each one of those names has a history associated with it. And each name was chosen individually because of that history. So each history should be evaluated. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to always keep in mind, I remember somebody saying when the Michelle Obama school was named after being Woodrow Wilson. Was that? And and she was my age, and she said, oh, the family went there, and she was afraid. It felt like her childhood was being erased. So all of those things need to be kept, you
have to take everybody's feelings into consideration. And it's not as if any of those processes are emergencies. They're not emergencies that you need to change the name of something. So anyway, San Francisco.
San Francisco's
going to wait to get back to that because they got to figure out how they're going to get back to in-person instruction.
That's number one.
Yeah, rather than renaming 44 schools, they're going to do that. And so in the Take Action, the folks that are organizing, one of the big groups is in fact in San Francisco, and where you've got a Google Doc where they are looking at having parents become part of reopening plans. And that's what this Google Doc is about. And it is also about San Francisco and San Francisco parents.
Okay.
But besides them, there's also, of course, the National PTA. The National PTA has a Take Action on, here it is, on making sure that schools get the resources. This is the key thing, really, is having resources.
It is.
That's what we should all be on the same side, right? Making sure that our children get the resources. And so they have, the National PTA is looking at that and asking Congress to be sure to include the resources in the COVID relief package, and funding for statewide family engagement centers, right? Community school money in the COVID relief package. These are very smart things. And I I really hope that people do take the time to click on this and join the campaign to ask our government to do this funding. It does make a difference. I mean, it's easy not to take action, but then you can't complain and say, oh, nothing happened, because you didn't do anything to help. And these are really easy kinds of things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Just like our favorite bill, HR 82, which is the Social Security Fairness Bill that will help increase new teachers. That's still out there. And we need everybody now. Mr. DeSonia, I think this bill is going to come before his committee. So we need to.
All right.
We need to pay attention to that because he's on that pension committee now.
Yeah. Give him a call.
Yeah. The arts equity champions are looking to create opportunities for arts funding, and that's been done at Create California, where they're doing all sorts of collaboration. I mean, look at the numbers. This is still true. California does not fund children very well. In Ohio, 73% of the children in Ohio have the funding for them to participate in the arts in schools. 73% in Ohio. California is 39%.
Ugh. And we're in a state where one of our top 5 industries is entertainment. That's pathetic.
Exactly.
That's pathetic.
Yes. So that's why this is a battle that people have to continue to become an arts champion and fight for the arts is a big issue, and people don't realize the importance of it.
Yeah, that reminds me, Amela, that that yearly report from Otis, the Otis report on. Yeah, remember we? I think we talked about that one a while back.
Yes.
The new report is out now, so
all right. Well, we'll have to,
and it talks about all the related jobs, all the related industries related to the arts. How important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then this is the actions alert. There's also an action alert here for California Federation of Teachers. There's one for Student Voices. CTA has an action center just to protect our families. These are all about protecting our families. There's an action alert against privatization and to keep public funds in public schools, Americans for the Arts. And the folks in New York State, I pulled them up because they do a better job of making it the national voice known than anybody else. They, their PTA, are looking at national support for mental health programs.
Oh, gosh.
In schools.
Yeah. That's so important. Oh, my goodness.
Such an important thing. So that just, if you click on this, this is not just about New York. They're talking about national support, but the New York community has lifted this up and made it into something that we can all join in and support for national funding.
Good for them. Good.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed by them. Then Edutopia had a project-based learning workshop that folks could watch that gave them a shout out, and one to the screens in schools. My God, all we have is screens in schools right now. So if you want an action kit to look at the issues around too much screen time, and of course right now there's nothing but screen time, but just to look at the issue, the screens in school folks have that issue. And this last one is, remember the soda story? We're going to be talking more about this, but just so you know that at one point in time, the soda industry in California made a deal with our state legislators. And this article will explain it, and as basically a shakedown, where the deal they made said to the state legislators, we will put something on the ballot that will not allow you to pass any further parcel taxes unless you put something into legislation that stops taxes on soda, additional taxes on soda.
Wow.
And they were successful in doing that. And now there's a movement within various resolutions around supporting support for COVID to include the fact this was unfair, and we have to override that that legislation, and in fact allow communities to put additional taxes on soda, because soda is a reason for folks to not be healthy. And these are the same folks who are at the highest risk of mortality and illness from COVID.
Exactly. And contributes to childhood obesity. It's terrible.
All of that. So there's a movement. This is for anybody who's interested. There's a movement to work on that, to make that actually happen. And let us hope it does. That's only just beginning, but there are people working on it. And this week, I guess we do not have a chuckle from Carlos. So instead we have some dancing from Jesse. This is what I will call it. This is a project that was put together by the El Cerrito High School Gaucho Dance Company. And I will just play it and you'll see what it is. It's been played at a number of events celebrating Black History Month.
Yep.
And it was designed by, oops, let me get it back to the beginning.
So our shout outs to Jesse Cronenberg.
Our shout out is to Jesse Cronenberg, exactly.
Because this is beautiful.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling and bearing in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, wow. There I go.
That is great. That is wonderful.
She did a very good job with that. And she has an extraordinary classroom of very talented young women who work very hard.
That should get a prize somewhere. I mean, that's exquisite, really, really exquisite.
Yeah, it is. It's actually been submitted to a number of places. I would like it to go as viral as the Oakley school board. But it's tough to do that. Somehow we need to connect it. That's the joke. That's my joke for the day, folks.
There's your joke for today. That's our chuckle.
Yeah, that's our chuckle. Okay. See you all next week. We'll see where we are in the world of Bay Area education. Next
Changes
week.
every day. Changes.
It does. At least by next week, we'll both be vaccinated. That'll
Yes.
yes. All right. Till then.
Bye-bye.